I say that none of it would have happened if it hadn't been for Saddam Hussein. Because the background of the I clearly like jewelry, but the background of the story is that when I got to the UN in February '93, it was the end of the Gulf War, and the ceasefire had been translated into a series of sanctions resolutions. And my instructions as the ambassador was to make sure the sanctions stayed on. And there were 6 of the sanctions resolutions, so it was something we talked about all the time. And my instructions kept saying, you've got to do everything. And I said perfectly terrible things about Saddam Hussein constantly, which he deserved. He had invaded Kuwait. So after a while, a poem appeared in the papers in Baghdad, comparing me to many things, but among them, an unparalleled serpent. And so I happened to have a snake pin. So I wore it when we were doing Iraq. So you've seen how after a meeting, the ambassadors go out and talk to the press. So all of a sudden, the camera zeroes in and says, the reporter says, so why are you wearing the snake pin? I said, because Saddam Hussein compared me to an unparalleled serpent. And then I thought, well, this is fun. So I went out and I bought a bunch of costume jewelry to indicate what we were going to do on any given day. So on good days, I wore flowers and butterflies and balloons, and on bad days, a lot of horrible insects and carnivorous animals. And it was right after the first President Bush had said, read my lips, no new taxes. So I said, people said, what are we going to do today? And I said, read my pins. And so that has been, well, and there's a show that goes with it, but I think the most outrageous thing I did, and the pins really got me into trouble, which was that there is a picture in the book, but on the 50th anniversary of NATO, it just so happened that Secretary of Defense Cohen and President Clinton and I were sitting on a sofa together, and I don't know who did this first, but one person went like that, you know. So all of a sudden we're there as the monkeys, and the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil monkeys. So I happened to find 3 monkeys for a pin. And I was so furious and upset about what the Russians were doing in Chechnya, I thought it was evil, that we had our summit with the Russians in the summer of 2000, and I decided to wear the monkeys. And so we're walking into the summit, and President Putin turns to President Clinton and says, we always notice the pins Secretary Albright wears. Why are you wearing those monkeys? And I said, because of your Chechnya policy. And he got so mad at me. And President Clinton looked at me like, are you out of your mind? You are the chief diplomat. You've just screwed up.